Let's talk about the books I've read in September. Hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Leia, and today we will talk about all of the books that I've read in September. And yes, I didn't read a lot. That is because I got a job. Yep, I'm working now. I get paid now and I have more money for books now, yes, but on the contrary, I have less time to read. So yeah, in September I've read 5 books. You can see 4 of them right here because I also read a ebook on my Kindle. So let's start with that one. That was Soul of a Witch, which, well, pun not intended, is a 3rd book in a trilogy. So I finished another series in September, which I'm very happy about, and it's basically, you could call it romantasy, I guess, but it also has a lot of horror vibes and a lot of smut in it. So in this series, the plot is basically always the same, but we always follow a different couple in these books, which consist of a female human being and a demonic creature, and they fall in love and they have some erotic adventures, which are always very different. Like, the dynamics are different, the kings are different, so there's bound to be something for you in it. The first book was about a human main character who has some kind of YouTube channel where she does ghost investigation things, and she stumbles upon this cave and meets a demon and a cult who's doing human sacrifices there for a god who is not a very nice god, I can tell you. And yet we have a school setting in there as well, again very much like Twilight at some points, which I loved. And the whole plot ends, and then in the second book the plot starts all over, but we follow a different character who's doing different things at a different kind of place. I would say the characters meet sometimes, so you get some dialogue from the first book, but not a lot of it. It does not feel that repetitive. And in the third book, again, whole different setting, different focus in the story. We have some witchcraft going on in here, which we didn't really have in the other books, so that was nice because our main character is basically a witch, and it takes place in a abandoned kind of building in the woods, which was very cool. Like, the building was very interesting, felt like a very dark Diana Wynne Jones book, I would say. Like, it is horror and smut, but it had some wholesome vibes for a few seconds there. And then the forest was very interesting as well. We have all kinds of other creatures in these books as well, not just demons, so we have some fighting in there going on as well, and it was really interesting. I especially loved the first half, very atmospheric, much witchcraft and horror in it, and then the second half was too much about the romance and the sex scenes for me personally, and too many boring fighting scenes. Just for me, I just personally don't like that in books very much. And there was also a lot about hell and the past that took place before anything in these books happened, like hundreds or thousands of years ago, I don't remember. That was really cool, about a certain war between gods and demons. That was very, very interesting, and anything that we learned about hell in here was also very interesting. About Lucifer himself, I would have loved to have like a little novella maybe just about Lucifer. Would have been amazing. But yeah, I guess the series is now over. So I enjoyed the third book. It was better than the second one, but I still enjoyed the first book in the series the most, I think. I don't know if it is because it is kind of repetitive, but it doesn't feel like it. But I mean, you do know how it will end if you've read the first book. So I don't know if it tilted my reading experience. Not sure. But the ending was kind of cute. Again, it was something that reminded me of Twilight, but Breaking Dawn, especially, like the last book in the Twilight series. There was something in it that really reminded me of it. But I can't spoil it, but it was cute. So yeah, read that. Really happy about having finished that series, and I'm excited to see what the author comes out with next, if it's anything that I like. I hope it's something that has some fantastical elements in it, because I know the author also has a lot of contemporary erotic stuff that I'm just not interested in, because I love to have some fantasy stuff in there, or horror, science fiction, whatever. Okay, next up, let's just go through these books in the order that I've read them. So the first book that I actually finished in September was the second secret project by Brandon Sanderson. It's The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. And I actually enjoyed it very much. Like, out of these 5 books that I've read, it was the best one, but it's by no means a new favorite. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which could be very unpopular since I've heard very mixed things about the book. It seems like many people do not enjoy it that much because it's kind of silly. The humor doesn't click with everyone, and I have to say I didn't really like the humor as well, but I loved everything else. So yeah, the book doesn't take itself seriously at all, but it was just very quirky and fun, and I expected it to be very action-packed with a lot of gunfights because of the cover, but I mean, there is some stuff like that in there, but for the most part it didn't really feel like that, so I was pleasantly surprised actually. This is about alternate universes and about a future on Earth where you can buy alternate universes to travel there on a vacation, or to spend a few years there, or to research these alternate universes, whatever you want to do, or to experience being a hero or conqueror or the new king of this universe. Like, whatever you want to do, you can buy an alternate universe if you have the money for it. And that was a premise that was just, I don't know, I like that. It was something new and really interesting, and in this special edition of the book, all the art incorporated in it really helped with that. Like, you have a lot of like flyers, as if you were someone from this world who was capable of buying that stuff. That was really cool. Our main character is thrust into an alternate universe, and at first he's experiencing amnesia, like he doesn't know where he is and who he is and why he's there. So that was interesting to learn about the world through his eyes, and he finds out that this is a universe that is very much Viking era inspired, so that's just always something that I'm really interested in. But we also have fantasy aspects and other scientific aspects that I don't want to spoil in any way, that were really, really cool. I also liked the main female character in it that the amnesia guy meets in this universe. She was very, very interesting as well. And our main character also loves art and does sketches, so again, something that I just really love to read about. And the book talks a lot about science and magic and how they are different from each other, but also how they are kind of similar, so also love that. So there was just a lot of things that I really, really enjoyed. It's just the humor that wasn't the best, but if that's the only thing, like, I can overlook that, it's fine. So yeah, I can recommend the book for sure. And then after that I read Legends and Letters by Travis Baldry, finally. I really wanted to read it earlier this year, but I just didn't get to it. So yeah, really happy that I now know what this book is about. So Legends and Letters is always described as a cozy fantasy, and I do get where that comes from, but I didn't really have a lot of cozy feelings in it. Like, there were some high stakes in it, which I think are not supposed to be in a cozy fantasy, right? So yeah, I don't know, I liked it, but it's just like a 3.5 out of 5 stars for me, so didn't fall in love with it, unfortunately. I am interested in the prequel that will come out very soon, right? Like, I really want to read that because it's about a bookshop. But yeah, I don't know what went wrong with this one. I wasn't a really huge fan of the characters. I really liked Thimble, the baker, loved him so much, and I also liked the woman that is always sweeping, I don't know, the ground outside. I don't know what she does. Like, she was kind of interesting as well, but wasn't featured a lot. And then the demon woman was always also kind of interesting, but I wouldn't say I loved her. Oh, and our orc lady, our main character, she was alright. I was kind of neutral towards her, so yeah, that was a bummer, but I mean, there were interesting characters in it for sure. And the whole building this cafe with the coffee that no one knows about, and all the descriptions about the building and the atmosphere and the menu, like all the things that they are selling and how it expands throughout the book, that was really, really cool. I loved that part. But I think in the, I don't know, second half of the book, approximately, there was too much, I don't know, relationship stuff in it, and also like high stakes, and I just didn't really vibe with that. I didn't care. I just wanted to have more cozy coffee shop vibes, I guess. But yeah, it was fine, but I was a little bored in the end. But yeah, everything leading towards that was very cool. Like, our orc lady going to this new town and finding the perfect place to build her shop, and really building it from the start, meeting all these cute characters and coming up with interesting coffees and also pastries to sell. That was really, really nice. I really recommend it for that. But the low stakes that is also mentioned on the cover, I don't know if that's really true. The next book was this collection of short fairy tales, like fairy tales are always short. What the hell am I talking about? Of classic fairy tales, which would be perfect for winter as well, but I've read them in September. So we have a few very well-known stories in there, but also some stories that I never heard of, so that was perfect to discover some new classic fairy tales, and these are always written from different authors. And I have no idea how to translate these fairy tales into their English title, but we have the title story A Nutcracker in here as well, which I think I've read before, or maybe I've just seen too many adaptations of it to know the story. I don't know, but it was very interesting. It's a fairy tale that I really like. So that was by E.T.A. Hoffmann. Then the next one was by Alexander Pushkin, which was about a Tsarina, like a female Tsar in Russia, and her 7 knights. And never heard about that one, and also wasn't expecting this to have a plot like it had. Like, it was kind of crazy, and there were a lot of Snow White vibes. Like, it felt like the Russian Snow White version, for sure. Had some very similar elements in it, but yeah, because of the Russian things, it was a little bit different. So yeah, really like that one as well. The third story was about a maid, which was written by a Spanish author, and I never had Spanish in school, so I have no idea how to pronounce it. It looks French to me, so it's Miguel de Cervantes, maybe? I only know how to pronounce it in French, which would be incorrect, so no idea. And yeah, didn't really like that one. Like, everyone is obsessed with this maid and falls in love with her, and it's just about a guy who's trying to seduce her, I guess. So it was a bit weird. Then the next story was about a soldier. This was written by Guy de Maupassant, so a French author, I presume. I'm not sure. And this was about this guy who just didn't like war and anything that comes with it, so he flees on the battlefield, I think, or when they are in the soldiers' camp, I don't remember. And he gets lost in the forest, and then he turns up at the enemy's place, and yeah, things happen, I guess. It was very interesting that something like this could also be a fairy tale, because I mean, it was very much about war. So yeah, it was interesting, but it didn't feel like a fairy tale per se. And then the last story was The Emperor's New Clothes by Hans Christian Andersen, which I have read before for sure, and yeah, read through that one again. It's just a story that I know very well at this point, so it's interesting, it's funny, and talks about some interesting things if you think about it. So yeah, liked it. I think everyone knows about that one. So all in all, very interesting collection, and I'm glad to have read it. And there were also a lot of illustrations in the book, which were very interesting, like very detailed, very large illustrations as well. So yeah, it was nice to read the collection for that as well. And then the last book already was The Ghost Cat, 12 Decades, 9 Lives, 1 Cat, written by Alex Howard, which is something that I've never heard of before, so didn't know what to expect, but it was very cute and thought-provoking. So yeah, gave that one 4 stars and really enjoyed it. This basically follows this one cat who dies in, I don't know, somewhere in the 1800s, which was very sad, but it happens like at the beginning of the story, so you're not too much emotionally attached to it, which was good. And the cat gets the opportunity to live as a ghost, to experience more lives. Like, we've all heard about cats having multiple lives and not just one, so that was explored in here, but as a ghost. So the outside world didn't know that the cat was right there with them, but the cat was able to observe, and they could interact a little bit, as ghosts are presumed to be able to. So this is basically a time travel book, I would say. Like, every time he wants to move on to another life, he's transported a few years into the future. So we start in the 1800s, and then the last life takes place, I think, in 2022, something like that, so very, very recent. And it was very interesting. So since it's a very short book, you don't get to know a lot of these time periods, but you do learn some stuff that was really, really interesting that I didn't know of before. And it always takes place in Scotland, so a bit of Scottish history is there as well. All these time periods were written very atmospheric and very, I mean, they felt realistic. I don't know if they are, of course, but yeah, very, very nice. We have some moon landing stuff going on there. We have some architectures that we learn about. We have some talk about aristocratic people and also very poor people. And in the more recent years, for example, we have someone who is living with other people together to study in a city, and yeah, the life of that, because prior to that it was almost always about a family home. And what I really liked is that some elements and some characters from some of the past chapters turn up in some of the future chapters as well, or they have some impact, which was really, really interesting. I didn't like some of the chapters just because I'm not really interested in what is happening in that time. For example, 1940s, I think some chapter was on that, which, I don't know, I wasn't interested in the topic, and the writing style felt kind of different. And also the most recent one in the 2020s, somewhere around there, which featured some COVID stuff, which I just didn't vibe with, and also inserted the author of the book as a character in there, which was interesting but also kind of boring. But it's an interesting idea. I don't know, I just didn't like the execution, I guess. So yeah, it is a very good book. Like, it's atmospheric, you learn some stuff, and it's also emotional at times, for sure. And the whole concept around the cat being able to do this stuff as a ghost cat was very interesting. Would have loved to read more about that, and also about what happens after the book finishes. Like, there was some stuff that I still had questions. But all in all, good book, 4 stars, would recommend. But yeah, that's everything I've managed to read in September. Not a lot of big books as well. Just the one on the ebook was like 400 or 500 pages, I think. But yeah, I'm glad that I was able to finish something. That's always a great thing if you have a stressful job, that you manage to read something. I hope that October will be just a little more successful in terms of quantity, because I will try to read a lot of small books. But yeah, we will see, because I want to read so many books, but I really want to focus on something else, which I'll talk about in my TBR video, which will come up after this one, I think. So yeah, if you're curious, stay tuned, and yeah, until then, happy reading and take care. Bye.